Korean War, 1950 to 1953. 500,000 people has lost their life.
How Korea became two nations and why only one became an economic powerhouse. Korea, a single ancient civilization, today split into two drastically different worlds. One is a global powerhouse of technology, entertainment, and innovation, and the other remains isolated, impoverished, and closed off from the modern world. But how did this happen? How did a war-ravaged South Korea rise to become one of the world's most advanced economies, while North Korea fell into dictatorship and economic collapse? This is the story of Korea's division, the rise of South Korea's miracle economy, the decline of the North, and the challenges Korea faces today. Korea's history goes back thousands of years, forming a unified cultural identity under major kingdoms like Gojoseon, 2333 BCE, legendary; Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla, the Three Kingdoms; Goryeo Dynasty, from where the name Korea originates; Joseon Dynasty, the longest-lasting Korean kingdom, 1392 to 1910. During Joseon, Korea developed its rich cultural roots. During Joseon, Korea developed Confucian society, Korean alphabet by King Sejong the Great. But everything changed in the early 20th century. In 1910, Korea was annexed by the Japanese Empire. Under imperial rule, Koreans faced forced labor, cultural suppression, economic exploitation, loss of national identity. The struggle for independence grew. The March 1st movement of 1919 became a symbol of national resistance. Korea waited for freedom, and then came World War II. In 1945, Japan surrendered. Korea was finally free. But this freedom came with a new tragedy. After Japan's defeat, two powers took control: Soviet Union in the north, United States in the south. They temporarily divided the peninsula along the 38th parallel, planning to reunify it later, but Cold War tensions made reunification impossible. By 1948, two separate governments were formed. North Korea, DPRK, led by Kim Il-sung, supported by the Soviet Union, communist, authoritarian state. South Korea, ROK, led by Syngman Rhee, supported by the United States, anti-communist, democratic, later authoritarian. On June 25, 1950, North Korea invaded South Korea. A 3-year brutal war followed. 3 million deaths, cities leveled to ashes, families permanently separated. The war ended in 1953 with an armistice, not a peace treaty. A DMZ, demilitarized zone, still divides the two nations today. Both countries were destroyed, but from here, their paths would diverge dramatically. (1950s to 1960s), North Korea ahead of South Korea. Surprisingly, North Korea was initially more industrialized. Heavy Soviet investment, strong factory output, centralized economic planning. Meanwhile, South Korea was struggling. 1970s to 1990s, North Korea declined. As the Soviet bloc weakened, North Korea lost funding. Economic stagnation set in. Dependency on military spending increased. Famine in the 1990s, arduous march, killed hundreds of thousands. North Korea became isolated, militarized, and economically collapsed. South Korea's miracle on the Han River, 1960s to 1990s. South Korea under military leader Park Chung-hee, 1961 to 1979, launched massive economic reforms. Key policies that transformed South Korea: export-led growth. The government pushed companies to produce and export globally. Electronics, automobiles, steel, shipbuilding. Chaebol system. Family-run conglomerates were nurtured. Samsung, Hyundai, LG, SK Group. These giants brought technology, jobs, and innovation. Education revolution. South Korea invested heavily in universal schooling, technical colleges, STEM education. Today, Korea has one of the world's highest education levels. Infrastructure boom. Highways, ports, bridges, and manufacturing hubs were built at record speed. Democracy movement, 1980s. After decades of authoritarian rule, massive protests led to democratic elections in 1987. By the 1990s, South Korea became a stable democracy, a global manufacturing hub, and one of the top 15 economies in the world. The world called it the miracle on the Han River. The 21st century marked Korea's cultural and technological explosion. Tech leadership. Samsung leads global smartphone and chip markets. Hyundai, Kia became major global car brands. Korea became the second largest shipbuilder in the world. Worldwide success of K-pop, BTS, Blackpink, K-dramas, Squid Game, Crash Landing on You, Korean fashion and beauty. Soft power. Korea became a global cultural powerhouse, influencing music, cinema, food, technology. This soft power boosted tourism and the global image of Korea. Under the Kim dynasty, Kim Il-sung to Kim Jong-il to Kim Jong-un, North Korea remains politically isolated, economically limited, focused heavily on military and nuclear programs. The economy struggles due to sanctions, limited trade, state-controlled markets. Humanitarian issues persist and reunification remains uncertain. South Korea today, success plus challenges. South Korea is now the 13th largest economy, a leader in electronics, entertainment, and innovation, a high-income nation. But it faces new problems: low birth rate, world's lowest, threatening future workforce levels, youth employment and job pressure, high competition in academics and jobs, rising housing prices. Seoul is expensive for young families. Aging population, increased burden on social systems, tensions with North Korea, missile tests, and political instability continue. Despite challenges, Korea remains one of the world's strongest and most innovative economies. Two nations, one history. One embraced openness, innovation, and democracy. The other, isolation, militarization, and authoritarian rule. From war-torn poverty to global leadership, the story of Korea is one of resilience, determination, and transformation. This is how South Korea became one of the world's most successful economies, while North Korea remains frozen in time.